Hello, everyone. My name is Shakeem, and this is my presentation for my class project where we discussed a few things about Linux. For Linux, you might have heard about how difficult it is. Maybe the only thing you know is the little penguin mascot, but in reality, modern day Linux is pretty easy to use. And in this presentation, I'm going to clear up some myths and show you why Linux might be good for you to use. Um, and the first myth is Linux is hard to install. Um, the first and biggest myth is Linux is hard to install. In reality, modern day Linux is actually pretty easy to install thanks to the distros that's been released. They make it pretty much as easy to install as Windows or Mac OS. Within a few clicks, you can download Ubuntu, like what I have on the screen here, or you can download it on a virtual machine, a CD, or on USB stick. I have a short video to play that basically goes over how to install Ubuntu Linux on a USB stick. It's pretty easy.
Are you new to Linux and need some help understanding how to go through the install process? Well, first get a bootable USB, download an ISO from the Ubuntu.com website, flash that USB with something like Balena Etcher, and launch that USB through the boot menu on the computer of your choice. If you did everything correctly, you're going to see this installer, which I'm going to run through real quick with you. First, select your language of choice, followed by any accessibility settings and hit next. Select your keyboard layout, hit next. Choose whether or not you want to connect to the internet to get more updates, hit next. Select the install Ubuntu option, hit next. Use the interactive install, hit next. We'll use the default selection and hit next. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card or have special Wi-Fi adapt, select this checkbox here, hit next. You'll have many options, but the easiest one is to erase your entire disk and install Ubuntu from scratch. Next, select which disk you want to install it on. Make sure you know which is the correct disk because it's going to erase everything on that disk. And now you're ready to put in account information and select a location. Next, and now you're ready to review your choices and hit install. Are you new to Linux and need some help understanding how to?
So as you've seen in the YouTube short, it's actually pretty easy to install Linux. Um, it's not as quick as a short, but it's as simple as that. So the next myth is Linux is hard to use. Um, so let me bring up my virtual desktop that has Linux installed. Okay, so this is a modern day version of Linux. So after you do that installation from that video, it'll look very similar to like this when you start. And it has a very familiar UI if you've used Windows or if you used Mac. And here you can create a new folder if you want to. All right, you can create a new folder. You can delete the folder. Um, and you can create a new file if you wanted to. Create a new text document. You can type whatever you need to type on there. All right, and so that leads me to my next myth, number three, that Linux can't run popular software. So when people think of Linux, they think that for the most part it's all command line functions and stuff, and that it's not compatible with modern software. But that's not the case anymore. Linux has some versions of some popular programs like Microsoft Office, you have Adobe, and you even have Steam on there as well. Let's see. Um, so this one is called GIMP. It is very similar to Adobe. You can manipulate stuff on here. You can create new layers and all the other stuff very similar to Adobe. So you got that. Also, they have the ability, kind of just like a smartphone, where you can download apps through the App Store. And on here, they have some programs that's on Windows, like Steam here. And I can't open it, but I just don't want to go through that whole process. But you can download some popular programs and stuff like that. Even for Office, you have this one called LibreOffice, which is very similar to Word, and you can use it just like Word or Office, I guess, where it has Excel and a whole bunch of other programs on there. So it's pretty similar to some programs that's on Windows. Myth number 4, Linux isn't secure because it's open source. Well, some people believe that Linux is not secure because it's open source, but it's actually the opposite. Because it is open source, that's what makes it so that it can be more secure than Windows. Because it's open source, you can have users who can find vulnerabilities, who can create patches and all this other stuff for you to download to get rid of the vulnerabilities. And also can, because Linux is not as popular of a OS as Windows or Apple, there's actually less hackers trying to produce malware for Linux. So Linux is more secure than Windows. And the next one is, so why try Linux? You should give Linux a shot because it's free, it's open source, and it's not that hard to use. You might have to follow a little bit of tutorials and stuff for some complicated functions on here besides the simple creating a text file and stuff like that. But it can be a good learning experience if you want to get started in coding. And it's honestly free. It doesn't require that much high-end hardware. It can run on like refrigerators, toasters. I've seen security systems have Linux. I have it on my own little miniature PC that runs my media server. So whenever I'm traveling for work, use my little server to play some movies, and it only cost me $100, and I have a portable computer. So if you're curious and you wanted to get started on Linux, you can go to the Ubuntu.com desktop website, and you can download it here. It is completely free. When you download it, it's going to be an ISO file. You can spit on the USB stick. It's pretty simple. So, thank you for watching.